Okay. Hey there. Today I am going to be talking about, my opinions on the current Manchester United state. I've got a few notes over to my left here, so if you see me just moving over to my head, that's just to give me prompts for what I'm going to be talking about. So, first thing I need to make abundantly clear is we are not in a good state right now. Plain and simple. This Manchester United team had a lot of promise going into the season. Coming out of last season, we, finished, I think it was third. I can't exactly remember. But what matters, we got top four. Had a very good season. Won a trophy. The Carabao Cup, which, as I'm recording this, Liverpool won about half an hour ago. Bit disappointing, but I don't really care. It's the Carabao Cup. What needs to be made abundantly clear, though, is there were problems last season. Very clear problems. The midfield was constantly getting run through. We didn't have a striker. The defence was the only solid point. The goalkeeper was an issue. David De Gea wasn't. I did not rate David De Gea. Like, obviously, as a shot stopper, phenomenal. Back in his day, he wasn't as good in his later years at Manchester United, but up until probably about 2018, late 2018, he was arguably best shot stopper in the world. So, these problems were clear from last season. They were clear before that. They were clear. They've been clear for years. My problem is Erik Ten Hag has done nothing to rectify this. He's papered over the cracks, is what he's done. He's not filled them. He's only put some plaster over it, and he's like, yeah, that's job done. He's not brought any element of structure to the club. He has, he's come from Ajax. He's had a good first season. The second season it's proved to many of us that he is not the right man for the job. He hasn't got any structure. You could say that the number of injuries that he's had this season has been staggering. Which it has, and we'll give him that. But that does not justify playing Anthony every week. So what if you bought him for £100 million? So what if he's only 22? He's not good. I'm all for giving players chances and letting them prove to themselves and the club that they have got what it takes. I was an advocate for Elanga getting minutes. You see how he's doing on Forest. I was a huge advocate for James Garner getting minutes. He's performing very well at Everton. But I can't justify spending £100 million on one player, then going to only play him. He's a very limited footballer. Absolutely limited. His left foot is the only part of him that works, and even then it's so predictable that he doesn't bring anything to the team. You'd think if he was like the likes of Arjen Robben, him coming in, cutting in off the left, banging out, everyone knew what he'd do, but nobody could stop it. That's the thing. Anthony is not that. But anyway, I'm going on a tangent here. I'm complaining about Erik Ten Hag. Erik Ten Hag, he comes in, everyone's like, oh, he's going to be playing how he played at Ajax. This is little possession-based football. They're going to play. He's played Route 1 this season. Route 1. It's the most disgusting form of football I've ever seen. We've had Onana, he can sweep. He can press high. Not press high, you know what I mean. He can sweep, he can claim, he can make saves, ignoring the Champions League, because he turns to Kepa Arrizabalaga in the Champions League. He's a good keeper. The defence has been shaky, but that's I will give that's due to injuries. We've had it's either 10 or 11 different centre back pairings this season, and Luke Shaw's already injured again. Lisandro Martinez is already injured again. Why? Because Erik Ten Hag rushes players back he rushes them back and it aggravates the injuries again, so that people could be like, oh, give him time, he's had to deal with so many injuries. No, this is all on him. That's something that fell off my desk. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's angry too. But what I'm trying to say here, I haven't even gone through the entire squad. I'm going to save what I'm trying to say until I've gone through the entire squad. The midfield, okay, yes, it's so weak. It is the weakest position on the pitch. Absolutely. We have, on paper, it looks good. Casemiro, Kobbie Mainoo, Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount, Christian Eriksen, Sofyan Amrabat. These are players who you'd look at before the season and go, those are some players. Those are some proper players. With the exception of Kobbie Mainoo, because nobody knew who Kobbie Mainoo was, apart from us United fans. But what Erik ten Hag does, he doesn't try and he's so fixated on his former players. Sofyan Amrabat has been, he was with him at I think it was Utrecht, and he's just not played well at all. And he's so, Erik ten Hag, he's so fixated on having these former players because he doesn't trust the scouts, even when the scouts are telling him exactly what he wants to hear. The scouts do their job. They find the perfect players. You look a few years ago, I was about to say Kobbie Mainoo, Moises Caicedo, I think that was 2021, I think, before Brian got him. He's still at his club in South America. I can't remember the exact club. The scouts were saying, get him. But the club, that wasn't the club, to be fair. Ed Woodward didn't want to pay the money. And then the next summer, Julian Alvarez. Julian Alvarez, he's a proper striker. Well, he's not. Obviously, he's in the shadow of Erling Haaland at Manchester City currently. But the fact he was able to go from, I think it was River Plate. I want to say it was River Plate. But the fact that he was able to go from River Plate to Manchester City and not look like a fish out of water shows the level of the player he was. And the club didn't want to play it again. The manager should have more trust in the scouting department than he does. But because he's got that lack of a trust, he goes to former players. And those former players are at, no offence to their clubs, but they're at not top level clubs at their age. Lisandro Martinez is one of the very few players that he's got right. And even then, Arsenal were in for him, so he was very clearly a good player. Everyone knew he was a quality player. Most people were fixated on Jurrien Timber at the time, though. But everyone knew that Lisandro Martinez would be a player. Arsenal fans knew it. They were just mad that they rejected him. Anyone who'd watched Ajax knew that he was a player. He was a proper player. And that is one of the very few signings that Erik ten Hag has gotten right from his old clubs. Wout Weghorst, awful signing. Sofyan Amrabat, I'll say again, awful signing. Instead of going for an actual midfielder who could come in and solve the midfield for the next 10 years, maybe a young midfielder, he went, no, I'm going to sign this 27-year-old from Fiorentina who just lost the Conference League final, but he looked good in doing it, so we're going to bring him in. And I will give him this, he played well in his first few games. Obviously, he was forced at left back, but it's just frustrating. You see, it's just frustrating at the fact that he's so fixated on these former players. I'll say it time and time again, he's so fixated on these former players, and it's just not working. Listen to the scouting department, but he doesn't. The scouts were telling him, don't sign Sofyan Amrabat. We don't think he can make it in the league. It's far too physical for him. And you know what? They were right. They were completely right. This player, he doesn't know. Well, he doesn't know how to play the game. Obviously, he's a football player, professional football player. He's better than I am. I will admit that he's so amazing. I'm down here. They're way up there. They're off the screen. But they don't have the capacity to play in this league. There's a reason he was still at Fiorentina last year. There's a reason they lost to West Ham in the cup final. You know, as an English team, I can't remember what results we got against West Ham this season. I know they're probably not good, but doesn't matter. They are an English side. They are very akin to the classic English side, a very physical team under David Moyes. So what made Ten Hag think, yeah, that player can make it in this league? He doesn't have a clue, is what I'm thinking. He doesn't understand that he needs to branch out. He needs to be more, versatile, and open to signing players from clubs that aren't in the Eredivisie, or they haven't played in the Eredivisie, or aren't his former player. That's what he needs to learn. And then you've got the few signings which have worked, you know, Lisandro Martinez, say Casemiro to an extent. Rasmus Højlund has come good. But he's not. I'm not saying that the squad isn't bad. That is not what I'm saying. Well, actually, hang on. I'm not saying that Erik ten Hag is the sole problem in the squad. Just the squad in general needs a lot of fixing. You know, it needs clearing out, start again. But Erik ten Hag has brought no structure in place. It's just people said Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had no tactics, that he was a PE teacher. The true PE teacher is Erik ten Hag. Because he's last I saw, obviously, because the other night we played Fulham. We lost 2-1 to 97th minute winner from Alex Iwobi. But the structure on display in that game was awful. At points we were playing a 2-1-7. You know, the two centre backs in there, one midfielder, and then 7 up front. That is despicable. Absolutely despicable. It's a sackable offence. The fact that he hasn't been sacked yet is a miracle. You know, losing time and time again to our biggest rivals by huge margins. I haven't forgotten about that 7-0 or the 5-0 against Liverpool. No. Erik ten Hag needs to pack his things and get the fuck out of this club. Alright? Obviously, you could be thinking, who's there to replace him, though? Which, I will admit, is an issue. You know, the manager market isn't really that open right now. Actually, it is quite open, now that I think about it. But it's not as open as it could be. And there aren't any huge names on the market. Obviously, you've got Xavi's leaving Barcelona at the end of the season, you know, and Klopp leaving Liverpool at the end of the season, both of which wouldn't come to Manchester United. You could make an argument for Xavi. Xavi might, you know, because of the allure, but he's leaving the club that he's a legend at. He's not going to want to be rushing into a new job. You know, he wants to take some time for himself to see where it went wrong. I would personally, my preference would be either Xabi Alonso or Julian Nagelsmann. And I think it's pretty sure set that Xabi Alonso won't be the new Manchester United manager. He'll be the new Liverpool manager, which makes sense. You know, he played for Liverpool. He's winning the league with Bayer Leverkusen. Liverpool want him, and I think they do want him as his first choice. But Julian Nagelsmann is someone who I have wanted ever since before Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Well, not before Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but when in, you know, late 2019, early 2020, when the form was just awful, absolutely awful, and there was so much talk about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer being sacked, and I looked at that RB Leipzig side and thought, their manager's a proper manager. You know, I am a fan of the style of football he plays, the high pressing, through at the back style. I am a fan of that. You know, and I was disappointed when he went to Bayern, because it just showed me that people in Germany, players, managers, clubs in Germany, they've got no ambition. They don't want to keep a hold of their their key players, key staff. They don't want to. They're just going to feed the rich, and create a bigger disparity between the top clubs and Bayern and the rest of the team. I'm very impressed by how Xabi Alonso and that Bayer Leverkusen side, though, because they are beating this Bayern team to the title. I think they went 11 points clear the other night, which is very impressive. You know, they're very likely to win the Bundesliga this season, and it's something that is such an achievement that it warrants Xabi Alonso getting that move to a bigger club. No disrespect to Bayer Leverkusen. I love Bayer Leverkusen. Well, I don't love Bayer Leverkusen, but like, I have so much respect for what they're doing, and I don't like the fact that there is a hierarchy in football. As someone who supports one of the bigger clubs, I can't say for a fact that, oh, we don't benefit from that. We do. We benefit greatly. You know, Dan Ashworth from Newcastle, he wants to join Manchester United because fuck it, we're Manchester United. You know? That sort of aspect of football is something that does benefit us, I will admit, but it's not something that I like. I want to see clubs have an equal distribution of, you know, wealth, of status, of everything, so that the football is better. Just in general. And I think Bayer Leverkusen will have to rebuild this summer, purely because people are going to pick them apart. Liverpool are going to nab Alonso. Maybe Frimpong might be stolen. Maybe fucking, I don't know. Maybe Xhaka's going to be taken. You know, it's a team that's going to be picked apart one by one, and unless they can keep a hold of that, then it's going to be very disappointing. But I went off on a tangent there. No, Julian Nagelsmann obviously is at Germany currently, but there have been reports saying he really wants a Manchester United job, and I would be over the moon, because we've got to remember Julian Nagelsmann is 33 years old, I want to say. He's a very young manager, very young, hungry manager who hasn't really won much. I think he won the Bundesliga with Bayern, you know. But aside from that, there's not really much. No, moving from Germany to a club like Manchester United, a club hungry for that success again. You know, we fell off our pedestal 11 years ago, and now, with new ownership coming in, it is nigh time that the club is going to start fighting tooth and nail to get back to the top. Not to say we haven't been doing that for the last 11 years, which... No, I am saying we haven't been in that for the last 11 years, because it's been a bit of a shit show, to be perfectly honest. The Glazers, well, you can blame this on the Glazers, because they don't invest as much as they should. And it's all on the club. They don't hire the right people. You know, we've only recently gotten a director of football, John Murtough, and he's not a good director of football. I'll say it. He's awful. You know, the deals he says yes on, or for 100 million for Anthony. I will keep going back to this, 100 million pounds for Anthony. Anyway, but now that we've got Ineos coming in, taking control of the sporting aspect, and we've got that hungry young squad, or we've got a few hungry young players in the squad, sorry, it is something to build around with a new manager, because Erik ten Hag is not it. You know, there are a very select few that I would keep in this squad. Very select few. The rest, if the right offer comes in, the rest I would gladly sell. Not gladly, some of them might be a bit hard. But the few that I would keep, I will say, it's just off the top of my head here, so if I forget someone, please don't come at me. I will preface that. Kobbie Mainoo, Alejandro Garnacho, Rasmus Højlund easily is the first three. You know, they're the oldest of them is Højlund, who's turned 21 the other week. You know, this is a group of players who are, you know, superbly talented. They can absolutely make it to the top of their field top of their positions. Some of them even are. You know, Rasmus Højlund is definitely in the debate for well, that's a bit too far even, but he's definitely going to be in the debate. You know, Kobbie Mainoo is definitely going to be in the debate about best. Alejandro Garnacho, I will say, is the least talented of the three. But that's not to say that he is a bad player at all. He is. I think he's been revitalised off the right hand side. His decision making is still a bit off, but you'd expect that from a 19-year-old, 20-year-old. I can't remember exactly how old he is. My only worry with Alejandro Garnacho is that he won't hit the highest ceiling of the three. He'll grow into a very good player, do not get me wrong. But probably not an elite player. That is my only worry. I think he'll have a very good career. You know, and a very, very top level club will pick him up, and at the very worst he'll be a squad player in this Manchester United side, which is, you know, he's such a talented individual. He won't want that. He'll be hungry for more. His idol is Ronaldo, obviously, so he'll be, you know, chasing after that success. He'll be wanting that success, and it's something that, you know, he will look up to. But yeah, those are the first three I'd keep. And then obviously you'd keep Lisandro Martinez. I'm thinking about the defence. There's not really too many in the defence. Maybe Diogo Dalot. I'd keep Dalot, and because he has shown himself to be a very good player. But Dalot, he's one of those players who is very hit and miss for me. He's someone who I can't for sure say I rate that guy. He can have a superb game, an absolutely phenomenal game, and then the very next game he'll just be the worst player to ever wear that Manchester United kit, and it's like, can you please pick what Diogo Dalot you want to be and stick with it? I would keep him though, because I do respect that he's very young still. I think 22, 23, and he can operate in on the right and on the left, which is it's a very good trait for him to have. And I think he can grow into that phenomenal player. He will grow into that phenomenal player. I think he should be the starting right back from now on. I'm saying this as a Wan-Bissaka fan. I'm a huge fan of Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I believe he gets too much hate that he doesn't warrant most of the hate, because he doesn't fit aesthetic. The way he dribbles, it's not pretty, but it's effective. You know, his crosses are a bit lackluster. His final third action in general is just a bit lackluster. I do believe he's a very good player to keep though, so I think we would keep him as a squad player, because there's not many who are a better, like, you know, defender on that right hand side, you know, in the world. So yeah. And then you look at the rest of the squad. I'd keep Marcus Rashford, which is somehow becoming an unpopular opinion. I don't get how. And I'd keep Amad Diallo. You know, those are two players who wingers who have that silk, I guess you'd call it. Marcus Rashford is Marcus Rashford. You know, you're not going to sell Marcus Rashford. And Amad Diallo has that. My worry with Amad Diallo is he's going to not get the game time he wants and he's going to leave. That's my worry with Amad Diallo. That's my only worry with Amad Diallo. But yeah, those are some of the very few that I'd keep. And you'll notice in there, I've left off some key names. One of them being Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes, listen, I love him with all of my heart. He came in January 2020 and completely revolutionised, or revitalised even, the squad. He came in and was such a perfect fit, such a top quality player, that he carried us, I will admit. But now we're getting to the stage where his creativity it's there. Listen, I won't get me wrong, but he has had a drop off in form, in quality over the past few years, and it's starting to get to that point where you start thinking, is it time to cash in on him? Obviously, he's our captain, and you don't want your captain to be at that point where it's like, is it time to sell him? I think unless Bruno Fernandes can, re-find his top form over the next, how much long? We've got 2 months left, 3 months after the season. Unless he can show that again, he's not safe from being sold. In my eyes, anyway. Because, listen, he's at that age where he's going to start falling off, and he's been showing it. He was such a machine throughout his career, barely getting injured, that you just wonder, is it catching up to him? Sorry, I moved my mic there. I don't know if that did anything to the mic. But you've got to wonder, is that doing stuff? Is that caught up to him? And Ineos have a huge summer ahead. I would only sell Bruno Fernandes, though, if the very right offer comes in. There are very few there are conditions that need to be met. Obviously, not being sold to another English club. That's just a given. Ensuring that it is enough money. I'm looking at renting for £100 million. Because he is still a very high quality player. And would Bruno himself want the move? Obviously, he's not going to move if he doesn't want the move. But I don't think we should be forcing him out. Another few key names. Casemiro, I've left off the keep list because, let's face it, he's not that good anymore. Luke Shaw, on his day, is the best left back in the world. I will stand by that. But the problem is his day comes once a blue moon because he's always injured. It's frustrating. We need to have a stable left back and keep him there. Rafael Varane is another one I've kept off the keep list purely because he is a bit injury prone. I would love to keep him. Don't get me wrong. He's been one of my favourite players for years. Even before United, even at Real Madrid. I love defenders, to be honest. And he was always one of my favourite. But it's just a case of right offer. But Ineos have a huge summer ahead. If they can get the right people in at the right time, at the right positions, right quality, then I see no reason why in the next 2, maybe 3 years, we can't put together a title charge. I see no reason for it. If we get the right manager, the right players, the right environment. Obviously, the Jim Ratcliffe interview the other day, he was very adamant that the main problem at Manchester United is the environment, which I will completely agree with, because the environment's so toxic. It's just such a not nice place from the outside. Obviously, we've not been there. I've not been there from the inside, but from the outside, it looks like it's like, what is the point in signing for this club? We're not going to win anything. We're not going to. If we play bad, we're going to get hounded. If we play good, we're going to get hounded. There's no winning with Manchester United currently. So hopefully, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Dave Brailsford, they can restructure the club, get it, to a healthy environment, to a good environment, place where players want to come, where staff want to come, to where fans want to come. And they can recultivate this, and they can bring everyone in, get the right players in. I've said this, I'm repeating myself. But it's not out of the question in a few years. I wouldn't expect it next year. We'd still be getting new players in, still building upon that. We'd be, building with a new manager, hopefully. But there is so much hope, especially with the few young players that I mentioned. Lisandro Martinez is, 25? Rashford's, I think he's 26, 27. And they're the oldest of the bunch that I'd keep. That I think we should build around. Rasmus Højlund's 21. Kobbie Mainoo's 18. Alejandro Garnacho is 19. You know, it's so much potential that it is. There's no reason why this club can't be successful. No reason. So yeah, it was a cheeky little half-hour sort of rant, I guess. Not really rant. Call it a podcast. We call it a podcast. It's not really a podcast, though, is it? It's just really chat. It could be a podcast. I could do this weekly if you'd want. If this is popular enough, I might do it weekly. I might also try and find people who'd want to do it with me. But that's about it, really. I just wanted to shout about Manchester United for a bit. So yeah, if you've watched this far, like, subscribe. You know, maybe this could be a thing. You know, yeah.